So, guys, I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Des Amey. I'm the managing director of a finance academy based in the Canary Wharf Tower. It's called Amey Finance Academy. And the whole theme of the academy really is based on a quote from Warren Buffett. And he said, never depend on a single income. Make an investment to create a second source. And we're set up really to kind of help people to become entrepreneurs, to create multiple sources of income. And that's so important. You see, it says in Proverbs that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So a wise person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And we're going to unpick that as we go through my segment. So the reason why that we help people to create multiple sources of income is mainly because the old ways are not working. The old ways are not working. You see, back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I'm really only talking about maybe 20, 30 years ago. You could work in a factory and have enough money to put food on the table, to clothe the whole family, and to also buy a house. But now most people can't do that in a very high level paying job. The old ways are not working. But also in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, it says very clearly in verse 2 that we should have multiple sources of income. And in fact, it's very clear. It says have 7 or 8 sources of income. So when it comes to matters of finance and business, you have to look no further than the Bible. It's all there. In fact, one of my biggest inspirations when I was getting into business and entrepreneurship was King Solomon, one of the richest men that ever lived. If you were to appraise his wealth in today's currency, he'd be a trillionaire. So it's all there. It's all there. Even in Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1, it really highlights the importance of investing, And we're going to be looking at that as we go through this segment as well. So, guys, I've been doing this now for 3 years, being a wealth creation expert and the managing director of the company. And we've helped thousands and thousands of people around the world to create multiple sources of income and also something called generational wealth. You see, if you're serious about becoming an entrepreneur, it shouldn't really be about how much money you can make for now or for the rest of your life, or even what you can do for your children, but we should be thinking 6 or 7 generations ahead. How can we secure the next 7 or 8 generations of our family? That's true generational wealth, and hopefully I can get that across today. Prior to being a wealth creation strategist, I was actually a secondary school teacher. In fact, when I met Reverend Matt Hogg, I was a school teacher. I worked in secondary schools across London for over 13 years. I had a long and illustrious career. I even worked up to the position of assistant head teacher. I love working with young people. Any young people on the call, it's such a buzz working with you guys. The only thing for me was that I wound up living paycheck to paycheck, living month to month. And I already highlighted that the old ways are not working. And even as an assistant head teacher, I struggled to make ends meet. I would work hard for the whole month. I would get paid. And then literally after a few days, my money was gone. And I didn't really live that extravagant a lifestyle. It's tough. It's tough when you're living paycheck to paycheck. It felt like I was just working to pay my bills. It never really felt like I had anything left over, and I never had any savings. It got to a point where I said, enough is enough. You see, God doesn't want us to struggle. we're not made to struggle. And I realized that I really needed to do something in order to improve my situation. You see, nothing changes if nothing changes. A good friend of mine said, look at the last 6 years of your life. If you don't change something, then the next 6 years are going to be exactly the same. So I was signposted to a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And honestly, outside of the Bible, I've not been impacted outside of the Bible than any other book than this one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I want to give you my 3 takeaways from that book. And I promise you, if you write these down and if you take action towards these pointers, I promise you it's going to be so impactful. The first one I've already um, touched upon or alluded to, and that's having multiple sources of income. Having multiple sources of income is no longer a luxury, it's now a necessity. So I really want you to ask yourself, are you relying on one source of income? Because that's a lot of pressure on that one source of income. So I realized in order to improve my situation, I needed to find ways to develop multiple sources of income. That's not to be confused with having multiple jobs. I recently bumped into someone in Waitrose near the tower, and he informed me that he had been on one of my talks and that he had now, acquired 3 other jobs. And I said, no, you've completely missed my point. We're talking about having, and I'm going to explain what I mean by having multiple sources as opposed to multiple jobs as I go through. The second point is to invest our money into assets rather than liabilities. And that's a really important point. And a lot of what I'm going to say today is not what they teach in school. And this is something that we're campaigning for separately. We're trying to get financial education to be an accredited compulsory subject in secondary school. However, we don't teach this. I've been a school teacher. I've been a student right through the system. This is not taught. We have to invest. You see, assets put money in our pocket and liabilities take from our pocket. Do you know how many people are more concerned about looking rich rather than actually becoming rich, about doing the things that can actually make you rich? And sometimes as Christians, it can feel almost like a bad thing to want to be rich. We're reminded of the parable of it will be harder for, or the phrase that it will be harder for a rich man to go to heaven. It will be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And we hear that, and it could make us think that maybe being rich is not a good thing. Maybe and being rich can sometimes be synonymous with evil or greed. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. You see, when we have more money, we're able to do more things for the kingdom. Our tithes are bigger. Our offering is bigger. We have more time. We have time freedom, so we can do more for the church. So we shouldn't have this fear. So investing in assets and not liabilities take from our pocket. And number 3 is to find ways to enjoy passive residual income or residual passive income. Guys, this was a game changer for me. Understanding that we can make money passively, we can make money residually. And that is what our organization is concerned with, helping people to create money in such a way that you're making money whilst you're sleeping. And that can seem like a really strange concept for some people, making money whilst we're sleeping. And the reason why is because we're so used to the traditional ways of making money. And the traditional ways are that we work and then we get paid. A solid day's pay for a solid day's work. And honestly, there's something noble about that. And what you're not going to hear from me is an anti employment rant, as I know some speakers do. A lot of speakers say, don't have a job, be an entrepreneur. No, I'm a champion of entrepreneurship. Do not get it wrong. But I'm not down on jobs. First of all, we value jobs. We need people to be employed. Many jobs are crucial in order for society to function. Firemen, nurses, architects. So that's not the matter. My main point is this: that whatever we're doing, we can still be entrepreneurial. We can still have passive and residual income alongside what we're doing. That's my main message. So what is passive income? Well, passive income is often doing something once and being paid over and over again. Let me give you some classic examples. So, writing a book. If you're an author, you write the book once, but then every time the book is sold, you're paid. You can be paid whilst you're sleeping. Or writing the lyrics to a song. You write the song lyrics once, and you're paid over and over again. There's some classic examples, but there are now some more there are newer ways in which you can do this. The internet revolutionized ways in which we can make residual passive income. Residual income is very similar to passive income. However, it can best be described as being paid long after the work has been done. At Amey Finance Academy, we have a entrepreneurship program where we explicitly teach people how to generate residual income, and be paid every single Friday from those efforts. So they're my three takeaways from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I hope that you caught those nuggets. You can imagine how fired up I was after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Honestly, I couldn't sleep. The only thing I didn't have was a vehicle. So what I did was I put it into prayer. I prayed long and hard for wisdom. You know, when I pray, among other things, I pray for wisdom. You know, a lot of people pray for money. That's the wrong prayer. Pray for wisdom to make the right choices and decisions. Many things came my way, and I tried so many different things to become an entrepreneur. Many of them failed miserably. At the time, it didn't feel good. But what I realized was that sometimes God has to prepare you. And in order to prepare you, sometimes you have to go through some challenges and you have to go through some setbacks. I want you to write this down. It's a phrase by someone that is maybe not known for being profound. It's actually a quote from Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion. He said, "Everybody has a plan until they are punched in the face." I'll say that again. Everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. You see, if you embark on an entrepreneurial journey, you may face challenges and pitfalls, but I want you to know that God knows best. I want you to write that down. God knows best. So if you do go through challenges, I want you to know that sometimes you're just being prepared for something great. Sometimes you're being prepared for something great. So that being said, eventually, after many setbacks, I was introduced to a world of finance, into the world of finance. And I realized that I could enjoy an income through helping other people. So initially, I helped businesses. I help businesses to get finance. I help small businesses to with their business plans and to set up. Then medium-sized businesses, we became a commercial finance brokerage, and then we then help people to get mortgages and finance and so forth. And we grew from Amey Commercial Finance to Amey Finance, and then eventually we entered into the largest financial market in the world, which is the foreign exchange market. Being able to teach people how to make an income from online trading. The academy has now grown, and we now not only teach people how to trade online, we also teach people how to make residual income from something called drop shipping, which is e-commerce. And I already mentioned about our entrepreneurship program. As a gift for everyone on this call, we're actually offering people a free financial review, where one of our specialists will help you with your finances in terms of looking at your income, looking at your expenditure, and putting together a robust plan so that you can save money, you can increase your income streams, and you can also build generational wealth in ways that most people wouldn't even think of. To touch on the topic of protection or life insurance, having life insurance. It's a topic that a lot of people shy away from because it's quite morbid. But what most people don't know is that for maybe 20 or 30 pounds a month, depending on many different things, you can actually put something in place that means that should something were to happen to you, you're able to leave a very significant amount of money to the people that you care about. And that's one very simple way of contributing towards generational wealth. I remember growing up, and we didn't have the best of our upbringings in terms of finances. And I remember my grandma passing away the same time as one of my counterparts. And at the time, I remember it was a real struggle for us, because not only are you dealing with the death of a loved one, but also you have all of the finances that go into that as well. The funeral costs, flying, back to Ghana, Africa, to bury her, and all of these different things. And I remember having to get contributions from different we had to get contributions from different family members. At the same time, my counterpart, my good friend from school, it was a completely different scenario. They received a lump sum from this policy that was put in place. And not only was everything taken care of, but all of the main members had this lump sum that they now had the awful task of having to decide what to do with this lump sum upon reaching 18. For my counterpart, I was in primary school at the time, and it was these two different worlds. And that's when I really understood that we only know what we know. We only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. It's a funny sentence, so let me say it again. We know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. So most people don't have the right information. Even now in this current climate, we see so many people having to do GoFundMe's to bury people. Have you ever seen anything like that before? Just put number 3 if you've seen anyone having to do a GoFundMe to bury a loved one. And my heart breaks, because again, there are simple things that we can put in place to avoid those things. So as part of your financial review, we'll look at everything and really kind of set you up in all of the different areas to which I've spoken about. I touched on a few things there. Online trading, just to quickly define, because some people may not be familiar. Online trading is the buying and selling of currency online, which is a great way for people to make an income, because it's a skill. It's a skill. It's a skill that you can learn or you can leverage. Most people don't know, and most people exchange money when they go on holiday, because what we do know is that currency prices are constantly fluctuating. They're constantly going up and down, up and down. And what that creates are opportunities to make an income if you know what you're doing. And that's what we teach. We teach people, students, people who have full-time jobs. They're able to do this alongside whatever they're doing in order to create extra income. The misconceptions are that you need lots of money in order to trade, which is a misconception. Many people start trading with £50 in their trading account, £100 in their trading account, and you can actually compound that money to be quite significant. Online trading is very time efficient. Most people only really trade for 1 hour a day, and it's recession proof. It doesn't matter if the market is going up or down, because you can make money on the way up and you can make money on the way down. It's online trading. Drop shipping is the ability to have an online store, to stock that store with products of your choosing, but we do guide you with that. But the key feature of drop shipping is that you are able to not have to worry about stock. One of the biggest headaches with having a physical store or an online store is having to deal with stock, having to put stock into a stock room or a warehouse, having to ship things, having to deal with returns, having to have stock that is no longer in season and you have to sell it at a cheaper cost. All of those headaches are gone, because the whole essence of dropshipping is that everything goes directly from the supplier to your customer, and you're just the person in the middle making an income. Dropshipping is a fantastic way of growing an income. And the last thing that I spoke about was the entrepreneurship program that we have, that is absolutely amazing. So again, we don't know what we don't know. So these are really good areas in which to explore. When it comes to online trading, I want to talk about one of my colleagues. My colleague, Dr. Kathy Kirkland. Dr. Kathy Kirkland was a minister in the United States. And I won't spoil her story because she likes to tell it a lot. She speaks around the world. But she was actually down to her last, I believe, $100 in the States when she discovered the skill of online trading. And when she discovered the skill, she actually developed a strategy called ECC11. And ECC11 actually stands for Ecclesiastes chapter 11, because she was a minister, right? She now is a multi. You can Google her actually, Kathy with a K, Dr. Kathy Kirkland. She's a minister. She's now a multi-millionaire. And we've actually licensed her strategy to teach our students. The Christian principles run right through our academy, right through our platform, and ECC11 is one of our main strategies. She's not just a multi-millionaire, but she does so much work for the kingdom. If you do look her up online, you see all of the work that she does for the kingdom. She's opened up orphanages, as well as teaching other people this wonderful skill called ECC11. The academy, I went from being a struggling school teacher to a multi six-figure income earner, recently placed in the top 5% of income earners in the UK. And it changed my whole life dramatically, being able to, apart from physical things, apart from tangible things, being able to retire my mum, send my kids to nice schools. You see, money doesn't necessarily solve all problems. It's definitely not the root of all evil, but it doesn't solve all your problems. But what money does, apart from being able to do more things for the kingdom of God, is it allows you to have choices. It allows you to make good choices, like doing more work for the kingdom of God, like being able to open up orphanages, like having more time, because we're not having to necessarily do a 9 to 5, but there's nothing wrong with doing a 9 to 5 at all. Being able to wake up when you finish sleeping, being able to have more quiet time with God is so important. Guys, I want to talk about something very important now. I want to talk about the importance of setting financial goals. I think this is a topic that is often overlooked, and I want to do it service right now. So on a fresh on a fresh page, I want to talk about goals. I want to ask you a very pertinent question, because as Christians, it's so important that we set goals. I remember vividly going to church before I was an entrepreneur. I used to go to church every single New Year's Eve, and I used to pray the same prayer. It was very short, and it was something like this: Lord, please let the next year be my year. Because the last year, okay, we're going to put that down to a lesson. Thank you for the lesson. I'm grateful. Thank you. But there are things that we can do to make it more likely to be a good year. And one of those things is to set, I see the fours coming through, to set good financial goals. But the reason why most people don't achieve their financial goals is because they don't really know what they want. They don't really know what they want. Do you know what you want? Do you know what you want to achieve financially this year? They may be business goals. I'm sure there are business owners on this call, entrepreneurs on this call, budding entrepreneurs, budding business owners. What do you want to achieve this year, 2021, by 2025, and by 2031? Short-term, medium, and long-term goals. Do you know what you want? The first step of manifestation is knowing exactly what you want. You see, not having a goal is very similar to jumping in your car and just driving. Imagine just driving aimlessly, no destination in mind, nothing in your satellite navigation system. It sounds crazy, but that's what many of us do through life. You see, most people just want to get through the day. They just want to get through the week. You just want to get through the month. Let's just get through this year. But we can be more purposeful. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down your financial goals. Write them down. I want you to write them down. Make them clear and plain. And I want you to write them down like this. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am. Write that down. I want you to write it down like that. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am. And the reason why I want you to write it like that is because we have to celebrate it now, like it's already done. Because it's already done in the spiritual. So now we just have to pray into existence, if that makes sense. So I'm so happy and grateful now. I'm celebrating it now like it's already done. You see, on my journey to becoming financially independent, I always use air quotes when I say that because it can mean different things to different people. But on my journey to becoming financially independent from being a struggling school teacher, I needed to celebrate being financially independent at the time, like it was already done. I was happy and grateful as I was walking to work, struggling financially. I'm happy and grateful. I'm so happy and grateful. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am whatever it may be. Whether you want to write, I'm a millionaire. I'm a six-figure earner. I'm debt-free. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm going to achieve my promotion at work. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm going to start my business. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have 1 million customers for my business. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am. Finish it off, but then end it with by such and such a date. So step number 1 was to write your goals down. And the reason why it's important to write your goals down is because only 3% of the population actually write down their goals. But those that do make their goals 50% more effective. People don't write down their goals. So the first thing was to write your goals down. It's scientifically proven to be more effective. It makes it more likely to occur when you write your goals down. Step number 2 is to have a date of completion. I'm so happy and grateful now. That's right, only 3%. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am by 2025. For example, I'm just giving an example. So make sure you put a date. So number 2 is to make sure that you have a date of completion. And if you miss the goal, if you miss the date, it's not the end of the world. It's really not the end of the world, because you can move the goal. It's fine. You can move the goal if you haven't hit it. It's fine. Don't get too hung up over the date. That's not a problem. Write your goals down and keep them close. I keep my goals everywhere. I have a goal card. I'm so happy and grateful now, and I keep it it's in my wallet. When I wake up every day, I read my goals. I read my goals 3 times a day. I want you to write that down. Read your financial goals 3 times a day. I want you to become obsessed with your goals. When you're doing your quiet time, when you're doing your quiet time and you're talking to God, you can talk about your financial goals. You see, thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. The more we think about something, it affects our actions and our decision making, and that affects the outcome or the result. Thoughts can become things. Thoughts can be manifested to reality. Become obsessed with your goals. Tell people about your goals. I share. A lot of people are fearful about sharing their goals because they believe if they tell the wrong person, they can, start to work against you and so forth. I'm a believer. I share my goals because it holds me to account. It holds me to account. I know that I have to achieve it now because I've told X, Y, and Z. So I'm making it. That's that. You see, I already know it's happening, so I'm not worried about what someone can do. If I tell this person, they may start to pray against it, or they may start to do this, or start wishing for my downfall. And so I don't have that mindset. My mindset is happening. I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. So no weapon can prosper against me. I'm not worried about those things can't touch me. So I share my goals because it holds me to account. That's one of my top tips. But also our mind thinks in pictures. So as an extension of writing down your financial goals, you can actually produce a vision board. A vision board. A vision board. A vision board is simply a collection of your it's a visual representation of your goals, your why, things that you want to achieve. It's okay to ask for things. It's okay to ask God for things. Absolutely fine. You know, to be very clear about that. Have a vision board. I see my vision board. It's the first thing that I see when I wake up. It's the last thing that I see before I go to bed. My goals are everywhere. I'm obsessed with my goals. I have to be concerned with them all of the time. So number 3 was to actually keep it close, have a goal card, and make a vision board. Number 4 is to list the obstacles. Number 4 is to list the obstacles that will get in the way of you achieving your goals. List the obstacles. List the obstacles. So they could be things like, it could be friends. It could be friends. I want you to write this down. Elevation requires separation. Often, elevation requires separation. They say that you are a sum total of the 6 or 7 people that you spend the most time with. If you spend time with 8 other Christians and you're not Christian, it's only a matter of time. If you're spending most of your time with 8 millionaires, I promise you, you'll become a millionaire. Just by osmosis. You are the sum total of the 6 or 7 people that you spend the most time with. It could be lack of information. What are the obstacles getting in your way? It could be a lack of information. How can you get the information? We only know what we know. It could be a perceived lack of time. How can you make more time? Can you do an audit of your day and find extra time to work on your goals? It could be naysayers. That could be the obstacle. Naysayers. People who are maybe not quite believing in your vision. And number 5 is to identify the right people to work with in order to achieve your financial goal. That's powerful. That is powerful. Who can you work with in order to achieve your financial goal? And I want you to write this down. There is power in mentorship. There is power in mentorship. You see, when you have a mentor, you can take a shortcut to success. You're taking a shortcut because your mentor has the results that you want. I remember when I was a school teacher and I wanted to become an assistant head teacher, I received a mentor who was a super head. She was in charge of about 3 or 4 schools. She mentored me to become an assistant. She had been an assistant head several times over. She knew what it took to become an assistant head. It helped me to become an assistant head within 4 years of teaching because I took a shortcut. If you have a way to get a mentor, someone who you look up to, someone who it can show you the ropes, I want you to grab that opportunity with both hands in whatever it may be, whatever business area it may be. Mentorship is powerful. If you combine mentorship with what I said about being obsessed with your financial goal, your goals are done. And a lot of people query being obsessed with financial goals. Like, it sounds a bit extreme. I want you to really understand the power of focus. Think of a couple. Think of a married couple who are trying for a baby. The outcome is that they want to have a baby. That's the goal. We want to have a baby. Now, because they have that goal and their thoughts are consumed with that goal, They do all of the things necessary in order to achieve that outcome. And if there are obstacles in the way, there are things that they can do. Maybe they'll try IVF. There are people who really struggle to have children, but they're so focused on that outcome that they make it happen one way or another. That's why we have to become obsessed with. So if your goal is to get on the housing ladder, to get a property, and you're obsessed with that goal, you're seeking the information, you're taking action, you're speaking to a mortgage advisor, you're doing all of the things, you're removing the obstacles that are in the way, getting on the housing ladder is now more likely to occur. So number 5, identify who you're going to write with, who you're going to work with, who's got the right energy, who can mentor you. Number 6, make a plan. What's your plan? What's your plan? People that become entrepreneurs on our program, one of the first things that we say to them is to create a VIP list, a prospect list, and to speak to 10 people a day about your business. Speak to 10 new people a day about your business. That's a plan. If your financial goal is to get a property, your first property, have you planned to even speak to a mortgage broker to find out what it takes to get on the property ladder? Has that been done yet? What's your plan? Is your plan to save £300 a month until you've got the deposit? What is the plan? Your plan could be to show a presentation once a day about your business. And the final step, number 7, is what is in it for me. I want you to reward yourself. When you achieve your financial goal, I want you to plan now how you are going to reward yourself. How are you going to reward yourself? That's very, very important. So guys, I do want to leave time. I can talk for hours and hours and hours, but I do want to leave time for questions. But I do want to end with Matthew, a scripture from Matthew 17. And it's, as you go forth in your entrepreneurial journey, as you go forth with your entrepreneurial journey, I want you to have the faith of a mustard seed. I want you to have the faith of a mustard seed. For nothing will be impossible for you if you have that kind of faith. And what we're going to do now, I think we're going to have time for questions, a Q&A. Okay, I'll read it out from Sahara. And what is your advice to some of the younger people you work with in terms of not wanting to buy flashy things, but the importance of investing? What is your advice to some of the younger people you work with in terms of not wanting to buy flashy things, but the importance of investing? That is such an intelligent question. And I give my response with respect and love because I've been there. You know, I think this is, for me, I went through a phase where I was spending so much money trying to look rich rather than doing the things that can actually make you rich. I mentioned that earlier as well. So a lot of people, they will buy the, the latest designers and the, maybe, a car. So many people will have a car that they can't necessarily afford, maybe making highly monthly payments on finance. Yet, there's so many things. First of all, is the point I've just made, that money is actually, it's actually not being used wisely, because they are what we call liabilities. I understand, the need to want to look good or have nice things. I love the finer things in life, so I can completely relate to that lure of wanting to look good, or impress, or have that watch that, in fact, let me write that down. So I want to come on to that watch, because it's a really important story. But having that watch that, to use the vernacular of the youth, some people call it stunting, looking good. Now, they are short-term pleasures. They don't last very long. And often we spend money trying to impress people who don't even like us anyway. Let's just take a moment to digest that. We spend so much money trying to impress people. So why do we do it? It's because it's temporary pleasure. It's a temporary feeling. But what would be better, to put money into those things, or to invest it where it can multiply. So let me just give it. So let's a random example, Bitcoin. So around 2011, you would have been able to have got Bitcoin for pennies, if not, it was definitely, around a pound, maybe under a pound at that point. The same amount of money you could have spent on a very nice shirt to look good. You could have bought £100 worth of Bitcoin, for example. I'm just using that as an example, and now you potentially would be a millionaire. That's probably an extreme example, but a more day-to-day example would be putting that money in an ISA, very, very low returns. There are things that we have. There are more. There are passive income opportunities that we're affiliated with, where you can for $300, which is in pounds, maybe about £260, you can be making a return of between 0.5 to 1% every single day, 15% every single month. For example, you could be investing in rising stars, in companies, in startup companies who are at the beginning of their journey, who experience thousands of percent in terms of growth. I know young people who are doing that now, who are switched on. But here's the problem: we don't know what we don't know. So most people they're not exposed to this information. So to answer the question, my advice is to stop it. Stop doing that, because you're only trying to impress people who maybe don't even like you, but even if they do like you, they may not even be around in the long term. What are you really gaining from that? But imagine short-term pain for long-term gain. If you're in it for the long haul, if you really want to live that lifestyle, nice house, nice cars, then really you should be thinking about how you can make your money grow. Assets. I hope that answered the question. So in short, not to do those things. It's not worth it. It's important to invest, because assets put money in your pocket. You can put your money in a vehicle that can be paying you for the rest of your life, rather than these things that depreciate. Cars are the worst things that you could buy, especially a brand new car. They depreciate as soon as you drive it off of the forecourt. Okay, if we were to share this information with other generations within our families, say retirees, how would you suggest we mobilize them? Okay, that's a really good question. So how would we share this information with the older generation? How would we mobilize them? So really, I would get them to the information, but in terms of having the right level of life insurance, having the right pension plan, I would advise maybe having a one-on-one with one of our consultants, plugging them in to a plethora of different webinars and podcasts that occur online. There's a new application now called Clubhouse, which is amazing for listening to speakers and really changing people's mindsets. To really answer that question, I think the real work has to be done with the mindset. You see, in order to change some people, we have to kind of start with their mind. How do we change their mindset towards certain things? So I'd probably start by plugging them into personal development speakers like Les Brown and Bob Proctor, and get them thinking in a different way, so that when you do present the information, they're more receptive to it, because their mindset has been changed. But that's a really, really good question. Really good question. But I'll definitely make sure that the retirees have good protection in place, especially life insurance. Many people don't even know about income protection, that there are things you can put in place even if you're self-employed, where if for any reason, especially for self-employed people, if for any reason you were not to work, you can be paid a salary for a certain amount of time. For some self-employed people, there are no checks. You can have a basic living allowance policy. That means that there are no nothing to prove. If you make a claim, they just give you the basic, which is around 1,600 or something like that per month, whilst you're not able to work. For a lot of entrepreneurs, it's quite scary being an entrepreneur because there is no sick pay, there is no holiday pay. But with a income protection, you now built that in. So if the worst was to happen, you couldn't work and your business relied on you, you could still be paid going forward. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Incredible. So let me end with this, guys. So I feel I've got a few more minutes left. I want you to really think about your financial goals, and I want you to remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. If we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same results. Your current situation doesn't necessarily have to be your final destination. Everything can change right now. There are two types of pain: the pain of sacrifice and the pain of regret. What can you sacrifice right now? If it has to be sacrificing some money that you can invest in your business that's going to help you to grow, then it's worth it. If it has to be sacrificing time, a lot of people, they have 9 to 5s where they're working on their job, but from 6 to 10, they're working on their dreams. So don't be afraid to start a side hustle. Yes, it's going to be temporary pain, but it will be for long-term gain. Temporary pain for long-term gain. And honestly, with entrepreneurship, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do need to start in order to be great. Guys, if you don't come from a wealthy family, then entrepreneurship genuinely can be a way to let a wealthy family come from you. And it's a great opportunity in which to generate more money so that we can do more for the kingdom of God. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.